Have you ever wondered why the most powerful men in history, Marcus Aurelius, Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, Napoleon Bonaparte, seem to possess a magnetic energy that set them apart from everyone else? Why, while most get lost in fleeting pleasures, they manage to channel an inner force that transformed them into legends? The answer lies in something modern society deliberately teaches us to waste: sexual energy. But make no mistake, this isn't just another moralistic sermon about abstinence. This is an invitation for you to discover the best-kept secret of great achievers, those who understood that true strength isn't in satisfying every impulse, but in transforming it into something greater. Because when you stop being a slave to pleasure and become the master of your own energy, you don't just change your life, you become a force of nature. What you're about to discover goes against everything you've been taught about masculinity, success, and achievement. It will challenge every conditioning that society has implanted in your mind since adolescence. Because the truth is this: you have been programmed to fail, programmed to waste the most powerful energy within you, while others who know this secret become the kings of the world you only observe from afar. Sexual transmutation isn't about becoming a celibate monk. It's about becoming an alchemist of your own energy. It's about transforming the lead of primitive impulses into the gold of conscious achievement. It's about discovering that the same fire that can burn you can also strengthen you, depending on how you choose to relate to it. When you stop wasting your sexual energy, something extraordinary happens. Your mind becomes clearer, more focused, more penetrating. Your thoughts gain power, your words gain weight, your presence gains magnetism. You begin to radiate a confidence that doesn't come from external conquests, but from an inner strength that cannot be shaken. Nikola Tesla, the genius who revolutionized the world with his inventions, remained celibate his entire life. He said, "My most brilliant ideas come to me when my energy is entirely focused on creation, not reproduction." Leonardo da Vinci, the man who personified Renaissance genius, also lived a life of sexual continence, channeling all his energy into art, science, and philosophy. These men were not repressed, they were disciplined. They didn't avoid power, they mastered it. But let's be honest, this path isn't easy. We live in a society that constantly bombards you with sexual stimuli. Every movie, every advertisement, every social media platform is designed to awaken your most primitive impulses. And behind all this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that profits from your weakness, that feeds on your addiction, that grows as you become smaller. Compulsive masturbation is the same poison by another name. It is the escape valve that prevents internal pressure from turning into driving force. It's like puncturing a tire that should take you far. It's like burning the fuel that should power your dreams. And society tells you that this is normal, healthy, necessary, but these are the lies that keep you small. Now, pay attention, because what I'm about to tell you can change your life forever. There is a fundamental difference between repressing and transmuting. Repressing is pushing the desire under the rug, pretending it doesn't exist, creating an internal war you will never win. Transmuting is recognizing the desire, honoring its strength, and consciously directing it towards something greater. When you repress, you create shadow. When you transmute, you create light. Shadow is everything you deny in yourself, everything you project onto others, everything you fear to face. But light is the conscious integration of all your energies. It is the transformation of what seems to be a weakness into your greatest strength. The inner warrior within you is not one who denies having desires. It is one who recognizes his desires and consciously chooses what to do with them. It is one who looks into the abyss of his most primitive impulses and says, "I see you, I recognize your power, but I choose to use it for something greater." It is one who transforms the serpent of desire into the dragon of achievement. And here's the secret few understand. When you stop wasting your sexual energy, you don't become less masculine, you become more masculine than ever. You don't become less attractive, you become magnetic. You don't become less powerful, you become a force of nature. Because true masculinity isn't about how many women you've conquered or how many orgasms you've had. True masculinity is about how many times you've chosen discipline over pleasure, long-term vision over instant gratification, growth over comfort. It is the ability to say no to your impulses when they don't serve your greater purpose. Think of the men you most admire. Think of the leaders who changed the world, the artists who created immortal works, the entrepreneurs who built empires. They were not men who surrendered to every impulse. They were men who learned to channel their vital energy into something transcendent. They transformed the fire of desire into the fuel of achievement. Sexual energy, when transmuted, becomes several things. It becomes pure creativity, the ability to generate ideas, to create solutions, to bring visions to life. It becomes personal magnetism, that undefinable quality that makes others naturally drawn to you. It becomes mental strength, the capacity for concentration, focus, and intellectual penetration that separates leaders from followers. But it also becomes something more subtle and powerful: presence. When you're not constantly draining your vital energy, when you're not always seeking the next gratification, when you're not living in the fog of sexual addiction, you develop a presence that is palpable. People feel when you enter a room. They feel your stability, your centeredness, your inner strength. This is the presence that the great men of history possessed. It's what made Marcus Aurelius command respect not only as emperor but as a philosopher. It's what made Leonardo da Vinci respected not only as an artist but as a visionary. It's what made Tesla seen not only as an inventor but as an almost mystical genius. And you can develop that same presence. You can access that same strength. You can become that same kind of man. But it requires a choice. A choice you need to make every day, every moment, whenever the impulse arises and tries to convince you that this time it's harmless, that you deserve it, that it's just once. Because that is the nature of sexual addiction. It doesn't attack you when you're strong. It attacks you when you're vulnerable, when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're alone. It whispers sweet lies in your ear. You need to relax. You worked hard. You deserve this pleasure. And each time you give in, you become a little weaker, a little more dependent, a little more enslaved. But when you choose transmutation, when you choose to redirect that energy, something magical happens. You don't just become stronger, you become more alive. You don't just become more focused, you become more creative. You don't just become more disciplined, you become more free. Because true freedom isn't doing what you want. True freedom is wanting what you do. It's aligning your desires with your purpose. It's transforming your impulses into instruments of achievement. It's discovering that you have the power to shape not only your actions, but also your own desires. If you've made it this far, if these words are resonating in your soul, then you already know that you can no longer live as before. You already know that there is something greater waiting for you, something that can only be achieved through discipline, transmutation, the conscious transformation of your vital energy. And if you want to continue on this journey of self-discovery and transformation, if you want to access more content that will challenge your conditioning and awaken your true potential, then subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell. Because what you are about to discover goes far beyond what any other place can offer you. Here, we don't just talk about transformation, we live it. Here, we don't just discuss philosophy, we apply it. And you, who seek something beyond the ordinary, who want to become extraordinary, you belong to this community of men who have chosen greatness over mediocrity. Now, let's talk about the practical process of transmutation, because one thing is to understand the concept, another thing is to live it. And living sexual transmutation is an art that requires not only knowledge, but practice, discipline, and above all, a deep understanding of the nature of the energy you are trying to master. The first thing you need to understand is that sexual energy is not your enemy. It is your most powerful ally, disguised. The problem is not having sexual desires. The problem is being controlled by them. The problem is not feeling attraction. The problem is being a slave to attraction. The problem is not having impulses, the problem is being driven by impulses instead of driving them. When you start practicing transmutation, you will discover that there are waves of energy that arise in your body. These waves are the vital force manifesting. Most men, when they feel these waves, immediately seek a way to discharge them, whether through masturbation, compulsive sex, or any other form of sexual gratification. But the man who practices transmutation learns to surf these waves, to direct them upwards through the spinal column until they transform into mental, creative, and spiritual energy. This is not fantasy. This is ancient science that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. The yogis spoke of it thousands of years ago when they described the rising of Kundalini energy. The Taoists spoke of it when they taught the circulation of sexual energy. The alchemists spoke of it when they described the transformation of lead into gold, a metaphor for the transmutation of sexual energy into higher consciousness. But you don't have to become a yogi or a Taoist to practice this. You just need to understand that every time you feel a sexual impulse, you are feeling pure power. The question is, will you waste that power in a few seconds of momentary pleasure, or will you use it to build something lasting? When you choose transmutation, you are choosing to be an architect of your own reality. You are choosing to use the brick of sexual energy to build the palace of your achievement. You are choosing to be the blacksmith who transforms the crude iron of impulses into the fine steel of discipline. And here's something no one tells you. When you stop wasting your sexual energy, you become irresistible to the opposite sex. Not because you are needy or desperate, quite the opposite. Because you are centered, present, powerful. Because you radiate an energy that cannot be faked, that cannot be bought, that cannot be imitated. You radiate the energy of a man who fully possesses himself. Women feel this. They feel when a man is drained, when he is empty, when he is always seeking sexual validation. And they also feel when a man is full, when he is full of vital energy, when he needs nothing from them beyond what he chooses to share. This is the difference between need and abundance, between scarcity and fullness. The man who practices sexual transmutation does not chase women, he attracts them. He does not beg for attention, he commands it. He does not lower himself to conquer, he elevates himself and allows others to rise to him. Because he understands that true attraction is not about what you can do for someone else, but about who you are when you are alone with yourself. And this leads us to a crucial point: solitude. Modern society is afraid of solitude. It has created 1,000 ways to avoid it: social media, constant entertainment, superficial relationships, casual sex. But solitude is where transformation happens. It is where you find yourself. It is where you learn to be your own favorite company. When you stop seeking external sexual gratification, you are forced to confront solitude. And at first, this can be uncomfortable. You may feel anxiety, restlessness, and emptiness that seems impossible to fill. But this emptiness is not a deficiency. It is an empty space waiting to be filled with something greater. It is in this space that creativity is born. It is in this silence that great ideas emerge. It is in this solitude that you discover who you truly are, beyond all the roles you play, beyond all the masks you wear, beyond all the personas you created to be accepted by the world. Sexual transmutation is, at its core, a process of individuation. It is the process of becoming a complete, integral individual who does not depend on anything external to feel fulfilled. It is the process of discovering that you are enough, that you are complete, that you are a creative force capable of shaping your own reality. And when you reach this state, when you become truly independent, something paradoxical happens. You become more connected than ever. Not because you need others, but because you choose others. Not because you are needy, but because you have abundance to share. Not because you are incomplete, but because you are so complete that you can allow yourself to truly give. This is the difference between love that comes from scarcity and love that comes from fullness. Scarcity-based love is possessive, jealous, dependent. Fullness-based love is free, generous, empowering. The man who transmutes his sexual energy is capable of loving more deeply, more purely, more transformatively, because he is not seeking to fill a void, he is sharing an abundance. But be careful. The path of transmutation is not linear. You will have setbacks. You will have moments of weakness. You will have days when impulses seem stronger than your will. And that is normal. That is part of the process. What matters is not never falling, it's always getting up. Each time you fall and get up, you become a little stronger. Each time you resist an impulse, you develop a little more discipline. Each time you choose transmutation over gratification, you are building the muscle of your will. And over time, this muscle becomes so strong that resisting impulses becomes natural, automatic, part of who you are. Because discipline is not a prison, it is liberation. Discipline is what frees you from your own weaknesses, your own addictions, your own limitations. Discipline is what allows you to choose who you want to be, instead of being chosen by your impulses. And here's the deepest truth. When you master your sexual energy, you are not just transforming your sexual life, you are transforming your entire life. You are developing the ability to master any impulse, any habit, any pattern that does not serve your growth. You are becoming a master of your own psyche. The man who can transform his sexual energy into creative force is the same man who can transform anger into determination, fear into courage, laziness into discipline. Because the principle is the same. Recognize the energy, honor its strength, and consciously direct it towards something greater. This is true alchemy, not the transformation of metals into gold, but the transformation of impulses into achievement, of weaknesses into strengths, of limitations into possibilities. It is the art of becoming the artist of your own life, the author of your own story, the creator of your own reality. And when you master this art, when you become a true alchemist of your own energy, you don't just change your life, you become a force of transformation in the world. You become an example to other men that it is possible to live differently, that it is possible to be more, that it is possible to transcend the limitations that society imposes. You become a light in the darkness, a beacon for those who are still lost in the sea of uncontrolled impulses. You become a warrior who does not fight the world, but who transforms the world through his own transformation. Now, as you reflect on all this, as you feel these words echoing in your soul, you need to make a choice. You can continue living as before, wasting your most precious energy on momentary pleasures, or you can take the first step on the most important journey of your life, the journey of becoming the man you were born to be. This choice is not just about sex. It's about who you are. It's about what you want to leave as a legacy. It's about whether you will live a life of mediocrity or a life of greatness. It's about whether you will be just another face in the crowd or whether you will stand out as a true leader, a true creator, a true transformer. The energy you feel pulsating in your body right now, that energy of excitement, of awakening, of possibility, that is the same energy you can use to build an empire, to create a work of art, to transform your community, to become the man other men respect and women admire. But only if you choose. Only if you decide that the time has come to stop living as a slave to your impulses and start living as a master of your own life. Only if you decide that the time has come to transform the lead of instant gratification into the gold of lasting achievement. And when you make that choice, when you take that first step, you will discover that you are not alone. You will discover that there is a silent brotherhood of men who have made the same choice, who have walked the same path, who have transformed their lives through the transmutation of sexual energy. You will discover that being part of this brotherhood is a privilege few know and even fewer achieve. Because in the end, sexual transmutation is not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming who you always were, but who was hidden under layers of conditioning, addictions, fears, limitations. It's about removing everything that is not essential and revealing the pure essence of the warrior, the creator, the leader who always existed within you. It's about discovering that you don't need anything external to be complete. It's about discovering that you have within yourself all the strength, all the creativity, all the presence you've always admired in others. It's about discovering that you are, in fact, an extraordinary being disguised as ordinary. And when you make that discovery, when you remove the disguise and reveal your true nature, you don't just change your life, you change the world around you. Because true transformation is contagious. It spreads, it inspires, it awakens others to their own possibilities. You become a catalyst for transformation. You become a living example that it is possible to live differently. You become proof that human beings are capable of transcending their apparent limitations and becoming something greater than they ever imagined. And that is the true reward of sexual transmutation. Not just success, not just wealth, not just recognition, but the profound satisfaction of knowing that you have become everything you always sought, that you found within yourself everything you always looked for outside, that you have become the hero of your own story. Because in the end, that's what we are all seeking. Not more pleasure, but more meaning. Not more gratification, but more fulfillment. Not more escape, but more presence. Not more mediocrity, but more greatness. And all of this is available to you. All of this is waiting for you. All of this can begin now, at this moment, with a simple choice. The choice to stop wasting your most precious energy and start using it to build the extraordinary life you deserve. The fire is lit. The strength is available. The potential is waiting to be realized. The only question that remains is, will you embrace this fire and become everything you always sought? Or will you continue to allow it to be consumed in ashes of lost opportunities? The choice is yours. The power is in your hands. The moment is now. Become the man you were born to be. Become the warrior who masters his own energy. Become the alchemist who transforms impulses into achievement. Become the leader who inspires others through his example. Become everything you always sought.